Hello everyone, Kim McIntyre from Moai here, and we are live. August 24th, 2020, balancing energy to support you, me, your friends, family, basically the world. As you balance yourself, as you heal yourself, as you improve yourself, make yourself better in every way, shape, or form every day, everything that comes into your consciousness is affected. So, heal on. All right. So today I will see your comments immediately. So when you show up, give me a hi. If you want to immediately ask a question, ask a question. We're talking about consciousness in relation to movement today. So before we begin, we're going to do our little reading. And again, the fourfold way came up. And this is about the 8 universal healing principles. So we're going to start with a there we go. It's moving already, huh? Some excitement, some jitteriness, some release. All right. So as we always say, we're going to integrate tapping into the work we do today, so your unconscious self can understand and rewire around a new you. It is better to prevent than to cure. And that's a Peruvian proverb. It is better to prevent than to cure. And that's a great thing about consciousness. When we are conscious of every part of ourself, we know the things that we need to do in order to prevent. Now, these are the 8 universal healing principles. 8 healing principles used in the majority of cultures sustain health and well-being. When we do not fully attend to those principles, we find ourselves in the shadow side of the healer archetype. Study the chart below and assess for yourself where you are supporting your health and well-being and where you are not attending to your health care issues. Rebalancing those areas that are not supported to your health and well-being allows us to fully reclaim the inner healer. And we are all inner healers, whether it be the ability to heal ourselves or others, we all have the ability to heal. Go have your cat scratch you and see what happens. I guarantee you start healing immediately. Alright, so 8 principles that support health and well-being. Number 1, a balanced diet. 2, daily and weekly exercise. 3, time for fun, play, and laughter. 4, music, sonics, and chanting. 5, love, touch, and support systems. 6, engaged in interests, hobbies, and creative purpose. 7, nature, beauty, and healing environments. 8, the presence of faith and belief in the supernatural. See if that helps us out here. So a lot of movement happening outside of myself. So did you hear those healing principles? Are you supporting your health and well-being on all 8 principles? Now here are 8 non-supportive principles of health and well-being. Unbalanced diet, lack of exercise, loss of humor, lack of fun and play, lack of music, sonics, and chanting, lack of touch, love, and support systems, lack of interest, hobbies, and creative purpose, lack of nature, beauty, and healing environments, lack of faith and belief in the supernatural. So hopefully we've got L8 going on for these support systems, but if you don't, we can always correct, we can always improve, we can always do better. Very nice. Unless you're happy where you are. If you're happy where you are, then don't change a thing. And that's part of this work. If you're happy where you're at, this work probably isn't for you, because this work is all about change, all about self-improvement, improving your world around you in whatever way, shape, or form that is. So does anybody have any questions out there today? Oh, excuse me. Looks like I may be running a little slow. No, not too slow. All right. No, you tired of me? All right. No, the yawning does not mean I'm tired of you. As always, the yawning on my part means that there is lots of energy moving, energy within myself, energy of anyone who might be connecting now to the video, who might watch it later on, who might rewatch it over and over again. As we found in the Elegant Universe the other day, you know, we might just be turning our consciousness into a cone and ripping our fabric of time and changing our possible predetermined destinies, right? I can't, but you can. Anne wrote, my dog freaked out last night with the thunder and lightning. Can you help her be calm with that? So, Anne, what could you do to help your dog be calmer with thunder and lightning? I'm not saying they'll ever be 100% calm, because, you know, it's not something that they see every day, so every time they see it, it might be new. But if we can tap and talk to them about it, and maybe even put on a loud thunder on our stereo system and tap, letting them know that everything's okay, that might be a great way to do it. But as far as me helping, you've got the abilities on your own, and you would be the better source for that right now, according to what testing is saying. It was pretty interesting show last night, though. That lightning was going across my bedroom window. It was incredible. And although it was loud and bright, my daughter did not get freaked out. It's pretty proud of her. Anybody else out there? Questions, comments, or are we just ready to talk about some movement? I do appreciate if you introduce yourself, and if you're not comfortable, that's okay. All right. So why don't we just talk about movement? And according to Google, we have 270 bones at birth, which changes to 206 bones by adulthood as some of the bones get fused together. Some of those bones they might be talking about are the cranial bones, I am not sure if they fuse together or not, because of some of the work I do. We were taught that we're actually manipulating the movement of the bones. There's videos showing that the cranial bones move, but medical profession says they don't move. So what's our belief, right? Maybe they don't move. Maybe it's just energetic blockages, kind of like a meridian. I know for myself today, I was practicing some tree postures and muscle testing what muscle needed work in relation to my leg coming out to the side, which my leg barely would get to here back in the day with a bend in the knee. And now my leg is perfectly straight, my foot completely flexed. You can't see the flex here. And coming up past parallel, maintaining my perfect balance, maintaining my breath, not staring at something to try to maintain my balance. And walking and listening tonight. Perfect, Christine, because we are talking about movement. Good job. So are the cranial bones moving, or is it just stuck energy? And that energy can be anything. It can be out of tune frequency-wise. It can be holding on to old memories, old emotions, old impact energy. You know, when you watch the football players in the videos of their brain sloshing back and forth, what's the energy that got stuck in that impact? Were they impacted by another player who was just crazy good and perfectly balanced, or were they impacted by another player who was angry and out to hurt other people and in a bad way? I mean, there's so many possibilities as to what our body, our minds, our emotions are holding on to that are keeping us from being able to heal and not freak out when lightning and thunder goes off, right? Not freak out because we're next to a certain flower that in the past created an allergy for us. And so when we freak out, and creates a hormonal response inside of us, that all of a sudden now we're allergic to that flower. I mean, these are all things to think about. Wow. Christine, is the vertigo improved? Because I'm not feeling anything from your head right now. It's unless you're just not showing me, but that would be interesting to hear. And you don't have to reply if you don't want to. I realize that you're out walking. Feel free if you want to, and if not, that's okay. So yeah. So remember, put your questions out there, and we're going to start talking about movement. So what I'd like you to do is take a breath. And now I'd like to know if anybody's breath changed when I asked them to take a breath, because I'm the only one here talking. So none of your breaths really should have changed. But because we're ingrained in this, okay, take a breath, or, I mean, right? so if, Christine, when you're out there walking, make sure that you're breathing silently, okay? Don't overwalk. Don't push yourself past your ability to breathe, because if you do, your brain will stress out, and your husband will say one word that totally freaks you out, but it's not your husband's fault, right? Very important. So did anybody's breath change when I asked them to take a breath? So let's see, this here is, hopefully you can see this. This is a diaphragm doing its job. The diaphragm is underneath the lungs. Diaphragm pulls down to bring the air in. okay, creates a vacuum in the lungs and releases to exhale the air, okay? Now, if we're not using that diaphragm, we're going to use the intercostal muscles in between the ribs. We're going to use our scalene muscles to try to lift the ribs, because the ribs don't have muscles around them except for the diaphragm. The ribs don't expand and contract on their own. They need assistance. So if we're not using the diaphragm, the muscles around the ribs and the scalenes, they'll pull the ribs apart, creating that vacuum, but the air won't come in to the full capacity of the lungs. And you'll notice when the diaphragm moves, we'll have movement in the abdomen, the lower back. We'll have movement through the entire body, because the entire body is kind of like a balloon. When you put air or you move one part of the body, the entire body responds. Everything responds. Now, you might not be able to see it or feel it, but there is a response pattern through all the body, and that's the interesting thing about anatomy trains. When you flex your big toes, you are creating a ripple effect all the way up through the front of the body, which in turn is going to ripple all the way down to the back of the body. There's always a response to any action, right? To every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Now, if we're working hard, if we're lifting something up, we might not have movement in the abdomen, but that's because the transverse abdominis is engaged around the abdominal wall, not allowing the abs to expand because it's holding on strong to support. But we're going to still have that up and down movement of the diaphragm, which in turn is going to have a better, more profound effect on the pelvic floor. So if your pelvic floor isn't healthy and operating efficiently with your breathing to start with, then we might have pelvic leakage, we might have lower back pain, pelvic pain, pain during intercourse for men and women. So many possibilities. And then if we're not using that diaphragm, the psoas isn't going to be working right, and the psoas is going to lengthen while Christine is walking, which is going to shorten her stride, which is also going to compress the lower back and the sacrum together on every single step. One might work better than the other, so now we're creating a shearing effect also. And then up through the body, if the diaphragm isn't working and we're using those scalenes, it's going to pull that head forward and down, creating a loss of height. So no wonder older people lose their height, right? And that's all happening right here. So now in the next video, we've got our anxiety breath. And that's what I'm talking about, especially with Christine. Don't overwalk, overrun, overwork out your exercise or workout. I don't exercise anymore. I either train or I play, because exercise it never worked for me. So I threw out that word. We don't want to be anxiety breathing, and this is from the movie Wanted with Angelina Jolie. Great movie. Highly recommend it. All right. So, bummer, I'm not seeing too many comments. Hey, throw me some comments. So yeah, did you notice a difference in your breath? That would be very interesting. So, now what we'll have you do is get up off your chair if you're sitting down and go over and pick something up off the floor. Christine, pick up a rock or a blade of grass or whatever. I'll give you a minute to do that. Okay. So what did you notice when you picked up that thing, if you did? Did you bend your knees? Did you just bend from your hips? Did you bend from your back? Did you hold your breath? Did you clench your jaw? Did you pick it up with one arm or two? Did your toes curl? Did your toes flex? Do your knees hurt? Did anything feel good about it? We're building consciousness. So when I train, I am conscious of as many things I can be as possible. So that when I go out there and I ride my bicycle in a mountain that has unsteady terrain and constantly changing terrain, I don't have to think as hard. My body can instantaneously respond because that's exactly what I've trained it to do. Whereas back in the day when I exercised, right, breathing heavy, sweat, over gripping everything, not realizing where I'm at, what I'm doing, thinking about what I got to do tomorrow at work or whatever's going on, not focused on where I am and exactly what I'm doing, then my riding would never change, volleyball would never change, nothing would ever change about the fun things that I wanted to do, and I got hurt really easily. Dislocated my shoulder just catching myself snowboarding. That sucked. Ended up with a surgery and ended up with the same pain after surgery as before surgery until I went to massage school, and then a girl worked on my baby toe on the same side. I nearly jumped through the roof. It hurt so bad, but my shoulder felt better when we were done. So what is really going on in this entire system of ourself? All right, I'm going to go grab another book here, see what comes up. All right. This is Journey Beyond Words. Again, in relation to the consciousness of movement by Brent Haskell. Oh, so this is from the Course in Miracles. This is my wife's book. All right. So, Kingdom of God. Greetings again. I am Jeshua. I have come this day to further you with any discussion of A Course in Miracles. Today I would speak to you of the Kingdom of God. Ultimately, that is all of which we speak. For the Kingdom of God is the goal and the end result. The state to which you go as you proceed through your sojourn to the earth. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. But more importantly, which we have said in different ways, we cannot overemphasize the Kingdom of God merely is. The Kingdom of God is not a state which you are progressing towards. The Kingdom of God is not something which you will one day achieve. The Kingdom of God, rather, is your natural state. For you were created in that kingdom, and God's will demands that you never leave it, or that you have no choice. The Kingdom of God is what you are. You are in your existence in reality. It is an expression of that kingdom. What really is the Kingdom of God? Ultimately, the Kingdom of God cannot be defined, cannot be known by you on this earth, cannot be fully experienced, while you yet dwell in human form. However, do not be disheartened by this fact. Merely realize that it is the limitations of these humanness you share, which make it impossible for you to fully experience the Kingdom of God here. I will speak to you now in words, so that from these words you can experience that which is close to the God's kingdom. All right. So you are here. You are now. You're in this moment. You're in this kingdom experiencing what's happening. Good, bad, and otherwise. Right? So while pain might be a bad thing, what have you learned in order to relieve yourself from that pain. Have you learned to breathe while you're picking up something off the ground? Even if it's a blade of grass or 70-pound kettlebell. Have you learned to breathe? Have you learned to bend your knees? Have you learned to allow your ankles to bend? Have you learned to not rely upon your back to support you? Have you learned to relax your eyes? Open your senses. Open your spidey senses. Feel everything that's going around you, but be present in this moment while you're picking up that little blade of grass off the ground. All right. Apparently I'm going to have to read A Course in Miracles so I can have a better understanding. Good. All right. All right. Pre and perinatal massage therapy. This is our last reading for today. And again, this is consciousness and movement. This was a great help for my wife and I while she was pregnant with my daughter. And it's right here, this page, we're supposed to be reading. Is anyone pregnant out there? All right. So it says here, I'll show you a picture of what's going on. We're looking at the sideline position. The sideline position is the best position for massaging a pregnant woman's back and pelvis. With the client positioned securely on his side, the practitioner may then safely apply the deep pressure that may be necessary for relieving strain and tension in the posterior structures with little fear of increasing intrauterine pressure. Use several sizes of firm and soft pillows, a long body pillow, and a contoured body cushion to create a foundation for a secure sideline position. Support the woman's head so that her cervical spine is aligned with her torso and not hyperextended or side bent. These supports should also accommodate the space between the acromioclavicular joint and the head so that her shoulder is not uncomfortably compressed beneath her upper torso weight. So when we have proper support, our body can let go with less effort. When we have proper support, we can use our body better with less effort. Meaning, again, looking at the core. Our new definition of core, all that blue, deep internal structures that want to be there for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, no questions asked. Unfortunately, the core can get confused when we're over inundated with emotional stress, when we've had injuries, old surgeries, that all these things build up and confuse the core so it doesn't know when to work, when to support you. And when does the core want to support you? 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's from anatomy trainings. All right. So, that is what I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed our little session, and we will see you in the future. Have a great one. Bye-bye.